Declassified April the 13th, 1945. The official plan from Allied High Command was simple. Annihilate the Dutch city of Zwolle with a 24-hour artillery barrage and kill every man, woman, and child still inside. What the generals, in their warm bunkers, didn't know was that their entire plan was about to be burned to the ground by one man. A soldier so reckless, so mad, he had already defied death half a dozen times. A man who, that very morning, was technically unfit for service. He had one eye, his back was broken, his ankles were shattered, and he was about to make a choice. A choice that violated every order he'd ever been given. A trick so insane, so suicidal, it would either save 50,000 innocent lives or get him erased from history. He was supposed to be a scout, but that night, fueled by pure, unfiltered rage, he became a ghost. This isn't a war story. This is the story of a haunting. The night one man, with one eye and a machine gun, hunted an entire German army. This is the story of Leo Major, April 13th, 1945. The Second World War is in its death throes. The Canadian Army is smashing its way across the Netherlands, a wave of steel and fire pushing the exhausted, but still fanatical, German Wehrmacht back to Berlin. The next obstacle is a medieval Dutch city called Zwolle. Zwolle is a fortress. It's surrounded by a network of deep canals, and the only way in or out is over a handful of heavily fortified bridges. Inside, a German garrison of over 1,000 men, a mix of regular army and fanatical SS, are dug in. They have machine gun nests, mortars, and 80mm cannons. They are ordered to hold the city, or die trying. To the Allied commanders, Zwolle isn't a city of 50,000 civilians. It's a problem, a hard point. And in 1945, there was one standard, brutal solution for problems like this. The doctrine. The doctrine was simple. Why waste Canadian lives in house-to-house fighting? The order was given. The artillery batteries were moved into position. A 24-hour preparatory bombardment was scheduled. They were going to systematically level the entire city, turn the ancient streets into a moonscape, and kill everyone inside, the Germans, the civilians, everyone. It was a cold, ugly, mathematical decision, a necessary evil. But 10 miles outside the city, in the forward trench of the Canadian Régiment de la Chaudière, was a man who didn't believe in necessary evils. He was a 24-year-old private first class. He was French-Canadian. He was barely 5'7". He was blind in his left eye. He walked with a limp, and he had just heard the plan. His name was Leo Major, and what Leo Major was about to do was not in any manual. It wasn't doctrine. It was, by every military definition, an act of pure, unadulterated insanity. To understand why a single, one-eyed private would dare to defy an entire army's plan, you first have to understand who this man was. He wasn't a normal soldier. He was a force of nature. He was a man who collected career-ending injuries and treated them like minor inconveniences. Leo's war didn't start in 1945. It started on D-Day, June 6, 1944. He lands on Juno Beach in the first wave. It's a meat grinder. The air is thick with machine gun fire, the sand exploding from mortar rounds. Leo isn't a strategist. He's a hunter. He and a single machine gunner move off the beach, hunting a German HMG bunker. They get close. Too close. A German potato masher grenade explodes right in front of them. The blast is catastrophic. Shrapnel rips through Leo's entire left side. The world goes red. When he wakes up, a medic is leaning over him, shaking his head. The diagnosis is grim. His left eye is gone. Permanently. The vision is just black. For any other soldier, this is the end. A ticket home. A blighty wound. He is, by every definition, no longer fit for combat. The doctrine is clear. A one-eyed man cannot be a rifleman. The doctors, the experts, tell him his war is over. He's being evacuated to England. Leo Major looks at the doctor. He understands the order, and he makes his first illegal modification. He refuses. He tells the medics that his vision is fine. He says he only needs one eye to aim a rifle. He says, "I'm a sniper. I'm used to closing one eye anyway." He is defying a direct medical evacuation order. It's the McKenna moment, the Simo-Heha moment. The doctrine says his war is over. Leo decides it has just begun. He finds his regiment. He forgets to report his blindness to his commanding officer, and he keeps fighting, a one-eyed ghost, now hunting the men who tried to kill him. But D-Day was just his warm-up, the event that turns Leo from a tough soldier into a legend. Happens 2 months later, during the Battle of the Scheldt. The Canadians are fighting to open the port of Antwerp. It's a wet, muddy, miserable hell. The Germans are dug in deep. Casualties are staggering. Leo Major is on a reconnaissance patrol. He's alone. He's moving through a village when he spots them. A huge patrol of German soldiers. Not 10, not 20, nearly 100. An entire company of SS, the best of the best. Leo is one man, with one eye and a machine gun. The doctrine is clear. Observe, report, run. Leo is not a doctrine kind of guy. He looks at the 100 SS, and he sees a target. He lets the main body of the patrol pass him. He waits. He lets them get deep into the flooded, narrow streets. He waits until the enemy commander, the officer, is right in front of him. He opens fire. Bang, bang, bang. His first burst kills the officer instantly. The patrol, leaderless, dives for cover. They have no idea where the shot came from. They think they've walked into a massive ambush. They return fire. Everywhere. Into empty buildings. Into the sky. This is the Simo-Heha trick. The confusion. While they are panicking, Leo is moving. He runs down a side alley. He reappears 100 meters away, on their flank. He opens up again. Thump, 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 thump. A full belt of machine gun fire rips into the huddled-up squad. More men fall. Now, the Germans are terrified. The ambush is coming from 2 directions at once. It must be an entire platoon. But Leo isn't done. He vanishes again. He finds a stash of German grenades. He starts throwing them. Boom! One lands in a truck, which explodes. Boom! Another lands in a house they're using for cover. Now, the Germans are broken. They are being hit from the front, the side, and with grenades. This isn't a platoon. This is an army. A young German soldier, no older than 18, runs right into Leo Major. Leo grabs him, puts a knife to his throat. He doesn't kill him. He has an idea. He tells the terrified soldier, in broken French and German, "Go back. Tell your new commander. Tell him. The entire Canadian army is here, and we are leveling this town. Surrender now, or you will not see the sunrise." The soldier runs. Leo waits. 10 minutes later, a white flag appears. The German commander, believing he is surrounded by hundreds of men, walks out. Leo Major, one man, walks out to meet him. That day, Leo Major, alone with one eye, personally captured 93 SS soldiers. When he marches them back to the Canadian lines, his own commanders are stunned. They think he's leading a friendly unit, until they see the uniforms. The report is so unbelievable, so impossible, that his commanders recommend him for the Distinguished Conduct Medal, but Leo is too mad. He refuses the medal. He says his general was incompetent and shouldn't be the one to give it to him. This is the man who is now standing outside of Zwolle, a man who sees impossible odds as a personal invitation, a man who would rather fight 100 men than accept a medal from a general he doesn't respect. But his story, his sisu, gets even crazier. You would think a man who captured 93 soldiers would be put in charge, right? Promoted? Given a safe job? Not Leo. Leo loved the hunt. He stayed a private. February 1945. Just 2 months before Zwolle. Leo is in the thick of it again, in the Rhineland. He's driving in a transport vehicle, a kangaroo, when it hits a Teller mine. A mine designed to destroy a tank. The explosion is apocalyptic. The truck is obliterated. It's tossed 20 feet in the air, a twisted wreck of burning metal. The men inside are just gone. Medics arrive at the scene. They find Leo Major in a ditch 50 feet away. He is not moving. He is not breathing. His body is broken. They pull him from the mud. His back is shattered. Both of his ankles are snapped. He has multiple broken ribs. The experts are back. The doctrine is clear. This time, it's not just a medical discharge. This is a miracle he's even alive. The war is over for Leo Major. He is being sent to a hospital, probably for a year. Leo wakes up in a field hospital. The pain is blinding. He can't feel his legs. A doctor tells him he's lucky to be alive. He'll be on a plane to England in an hour. Leo Major looks at the doctor. He hears the official order. And he does what Leo Major always does. He refuses. He waits until the doctor and nurses leave. The pain is so bad he can barely think. He looks at the plaster casts on his legs. He knows he can't walk, so he crawls. He crawls out of the medical tent. He crawls across the muddy, frozen field, dragging his useless legs behind him. He crawls until he finds a Canadian patrol, a dispatch rider. He tells the soldier, "Get me to my regiment." The soldier thinks he's delirious. Leo convinces him. He finds a friend, a fellow soldier. And for the next 2 weeks, he doesn't go to the front line. He can't. Instead, he recovers. He finds a farmer's house. He eats. He borrows a car. He lets his back heal. Just enough. He is, for all intents and purposes, AWOL. Absent without leave. He has defied medical orders. He has deserted his hospital. He is an illegal modification in human form. By early March, he's back. He can't run. He can barely walk. But he can shoot. He rejoins his unit, who are stunned to see him. They thought he was dead. His commanding officer just shakes his head. He knows he can't stop this man. This is the man who arrives at the gates of Zwolle in April 1945, a 24-year-old with one eye, a shattered back that hasn't fully healed, ankles held together by scar tissue, a man who has already refused 2 career-ending wounds, a man who captured 93 SS soldiers, alone, a man who refused a medal because he thought the general was an idiot. This is the man who is now crouching in a ditch, listening to the official plan. The plan to turn Zwolle into a graveyard. The doctrine is clear. The city must be flattened. The artillery is ready, but Leo's commander, a man who knew exactly how mad his private was, has an idea. He doesn't want to level the city. He doesn't want to kill 50,000 people. He needs eyes on. He needs to know exactly how strong the German defense is. If the Germans are weak, if they're already pulling out, he can stop the bombardment. He calls for volunteers. A 2-man reconnaissance mission, a suicide mission. Go into the city, alone, at night. Find the German garrison. Count them. Assess their strength. And, if you can, try to make contact with the Dutch resistance, and then come back. Before the artillery barrage starts at 6:20 a.m., the entire regiment is silent. It's a death sentence. Leo Major limps forward. "I'll go." His best friend, Corporal Willie Arsenault, steps up next to him. "I'll go with him." The commander nods. He hands them a map, a radio, and wishes them good luck. Leo Major looks at his friend, Willie. They are 2 men. They are going to walk into a fortress of 1,000 Germans to try and stop an official plan that is going to kill 50,000 civilians. They are the piano wire. They are the iron sights. They are the one, tiny, illegal modification that is about to change everything. The Simo-Heha parallels are almost unbelievable. Simo was a 5'3" farmer. Leo was a 5'7" brawler. Simo refused the doctrine of high-tech scopes. Leo refused the doctrine of medical evacuation. Simo used his sisu to fight the cold. Leo used his grit to fight his own broken body. Simo was a ghost, a white death who hunted the Red Army. Leo was about to become a pirate ghost and hunt the Wehrmacht. The P-38 Tertwains, intuit and trade script, how one mechanic's illegal fix saved the P-38. The Simo script, how one farmer's crazy trick killed 505 Soviets. This story is crazier than both. How one broken soldier's ghost trick liberated an entire city. Alone. Because what happened next, what Leo and Willie did, was not in any manual. They didn't just plan to scout. Leo had a different idea. He remembered the Scheldt. He remembered the 93 prisoners. He knew the Simo-Heha truth. You don't have to be a big army. You just have to sound like one. He wasn't going in to scout the Germans. He was going in to terrorize them. Midnight, April 13th, 1945. The air is cold. The city of Zwolle is blacked out. It is silent. The silence that the Soviet soldier Pavel wrote about. The silence that means a hunter is watching. Leo and Willie strip off their heavy gear. They take only what they need. Sten guns, pockets full of ammunition, and grenades. As many grenades as they can carry. They approach the first canal. The kill zone. They find a small boat. Silently. They paddle across. They're in. They move through the dark, destroyed streets, ghosting from shadow to shadow. The city is empty. The civilians are all hiding in their cellars, praying, waiting for the 6:02 a.m. bombardment that will kill them all. The tension is unbearable. Every sound, a broken piece of glass, a distant dog, makes their hearts pound. They pass a railway line. They cross an open square. Still, nothing. No Germans. Where is the 1,000-man garrison? Leo starts to get cocky. Maybe they already left? Maybe this will be easy. And that's when they make the first mistake. They get too comfortable. They talk. Just a whisper. But in the dead silent city, it's as loud as a gunshot. Crack, a single rifle shot. A German sniper, Leo spins. He sees his friend, his best friend, Willie Arsenault. He sees him grab his chest. He sees the look of shock on his face. Willie falls. He doesn't make a sound. He just crumples to the cobblestones. Leo dives for cover behind a wall. His heart is exploding. He hears German voices, shouting. They know they hit someone. They're moving in. Leo Major is now alone. He is deep inside a fortress city. He is one man, with one eye and a broken back. His best friend is dead. The enemy is closing in. The doctrine is clear. The mission is a failure. He must escape. He must run. He must get back to the Canadian lines and report failure. But the man hiding behind that wall wasn't a soldier anymore. He wasn't a private. He was the one-eyed man from D-Day. He was the man who captured 93 SS soldiers. And he was angry. He looks at Willie's body. He looks at the advancing Germans, and he makes a choice. The illegal modification. He is not going back. He is not going to scout. He is going to burn this entire city to the ground. Or die trying? Leo Major checks the magazine on his Sten gun. He lines up 3 grenades. He looks at the body of his friend, and he feels the sisu. He feels the rage. The Germans, confident, turn the corner, and they walk, not into a scout, but into a ghost, a one-man army, who has just declared a private war on all of them. The hunt was on. The German patrol turns the corner. They're moving slowly, rifles up, expecting a wounded man, a single terrified scout. What they get is a hurricane. Leo Major doesn't wait. He doesn't think. He explodes. He steps out from the shadow and fires his Sten gun. The brrrr of the machine gun shatters the midnight silence. The first two Germans are cut in half before they even see him. They just drop. He throws his first grenade. Boom! It lands in the middle of the remaining squad. Shrapnel and screams fill the narrow street. He doesn't stop. He doesn't hide. He charges through the smoke, firing his Sten from the hip. A third German, trying to raise his rifle. Leo puts 3 rounds in his chest. A fourth, trying to crawl away. Leo doesn't hesitate. In less than 10 seconds, the entire patrol is gone. Annihilated. Silence, heavy, ringing silence, falls on the street. Leo stands over the bodies, his chest heaving. The rage is a white-hot fire. He looks at his friend, Willie, lying dead on the cobblestones, and he looks at the dead Germans. It wasn't enough. This was just the start. The doctrine is still screaming in his head. Run, report, retreat. The mission is a failure. But the McKenna in him, the Simoheha, the Leo Major, has a different idea. He looks at Willie's body. He can't take him back. Not yet. He gently takes his friend's dog tags. Then he picks up Willie's Sten gun. Now, he has 2. 1 for each hand. He's got a full load of grenades. And he has a new mission. This is no longer a reconnaissance. This is a Monty tactic. This is a one-man ambush. He is not going to scout the 1,000-man garrison. He is going to hunt them. He knows the Simoheha trick. The trick that turned one farmer into a White Death. It wasn't the rifle. It was the psychology. It was the confusion. He looks at the empty, dark city. He knows the Germans are now on high alert. They heard the gunfire. They heard the grenade. They know someone is in the city. Leo's plan is simple. He is going to make those 1,000 Germans believe they are not being hunted by someone. They are being hunted by everyone. He is going to make his illegal modification. He is going to turn one broken, one-eyed soldier into the entire Canadian Army. He takes a deep breath. His back is screaming in pain. His ankles feel like they're full of broken glass. He ignores it. He starts to run. He runs 2 blocks north. He finds an empty street. He throws a grenade into the window of an abandoned house. Kaboom! The explosion echoes, sounding like an anti-tank gun. The Germans, in their barracks, hear it. An explosion. North of the first firefight, Leo doesn't wait. He's already moving. He runs, limping, 3 blocks west. He finds a patrol of 4 Germans setting up a machine gun nest facing north, where the grenade went off. They never hear him. He comes from their flank, from the west. Brrrr. He empties a full magazine from one Sten gun. The machine gun crew is dead. Now, the German command center is getting reports. A firefight in the central square. A heavy explosion in the north sector. And now, machine gun fire in the west sector. The Canadian Army is attacking from 3 directions at once. This is the Simoheha moment. This is the Saburo Sakai moment. The enemy is confused. Their doctrine has no answer for this. A German major, safe in his concrete bunker, is looking at a map. This makes no sense. The Canadians aren't supposed to attack until dawn. This must be a full-scale regimental assault. But how, he orders his men. Find them! Find the main assault. But there is no main assault. There is only Leo. Leo is a ghost. He's a blur. He never stops moving. He is fighting a war against time. He knows he only has a few hours until 6 a.m. He has to break the entire German garrison before his own army kills them, and 50,000 civilians. He runs and runs. His lungs are on fire. He's not just a soldier. He's a performance artist. He is acting the part of an army. He runs south. He finds a parked German transport truck. He doesn't shoot it. He plants a sticky bomb on its engine block. He keeps moving. 30 seconds later, whoomp! A massive fireball. Now, the South Sector is reporting an attack. To the Germans, huddled in their bunkers, this is a nightmare. It's the Pavel diary all over again. This is not war. This is hell. The enemy is everywhere. They are in the north. They are in the west. They are in the south. They are blowing up our vehicles. They are wiping out our machine gun nests. We cannot see them. We only hear them, the sound of gunfire. Is Leo Major's white death. The German major is panicking. He orders all patrols to fall back to their hard points. No more patrols. Consolidate! Consolidate! This is Leo's first victory. He now owns the streets. The 1,000-man garrison is now hiding from him, but Leo isn't done. He's just getting started. He's running, and he runs. Right into a German command car. A Kübelwagen. It's driving fast, no headlights, carrying an officer. It's the Simo Heha moment again. The hunter becomes the hunted. The car squeals to a stop. The officer in the back raises his pistol. Leo doesn't dive. He doesn't hide. He raises his Sten gun. Brrrr! He shoots the driver. The officer fires. Crack. Crack. The bullets miss. A one-eyed man is harder to hit in the dark. The car, driverless, slams into a wall. The officer is thrown forward. Leo is on him in a second, hauling him out, a knife to his throat. The officer is babbling in German. Who are you? How many are you? Leo Major, his one eye burning in the dark, his face covered in soot and sweat, gives the man his Scheldt speech. We are the Canadian Army. We are everywhere. The artillery starts in 3 hours. You have one chance. Tell your men to leave. The officer laughs. You are one man. I heard just one man. You are dead. Tell to the officer, this is doctrine. One man cannot fight a garrison. Leo shows him the illegal modification. He doesn't kill the officer. He does something smarter. He does something that would make McKenna proud. He uses him. He shoves the officer back into the car. Drive! The officer is stunned. What? Drive. Take me. To your friends. The officer, terrified, his driver dead, does what he's told. Leo Major, a private, is now driving through the streets of Zwolle in a captured German command car, with a captured German officer, on his way to the main German garrison. This is not in any manual. This is pure, beautiful insanity. They drive for 3 blocks. The officer points to a large dark building, a hotel fortified with sandbags, SS headquarters. Leo smiles. He stops the car a block away. He ties the officer's hands. He tells him, wait here. If you move, I will kill you. If I die, my friends will find you and kill you. Understand? The officer nods. He is paralyzed with fear. He is facing a madman. Leo Major gets out of the car. He looks at the SS headquarters, the most fortified, most fanatical, most dangerous building in the entire city. Simo Heika. Refused the scope. McKenna. Used piano wire. Leo Major is going to use arson. He's out of grenades. He's low on ammo. But he sees jerry cans of gasoline stacked against the building for the German vehicles. He's not going to fight the SS. He's going to evict them. He crawls. His back is a solid sheet of agony. But the adrenaline, the rage, is stronger. He crawls, dragging 2 full cans of gasoline. He reaches the side door of the hotel. He pours the gasoline all over the door, all over the sandbags, all over the window frames. He backs up. He pulls out his last magazine. He chambers around. He aims at the gasoline. He fires. Brrrrap! The world ignites. Oh, whoomph that shakes the entire street. A ball of fire. A Motti ambush. A field kitchen. Gone. The SS headquarters is an inferno. Changing. Burning. Men pour out of the front door, screaming. They are not elite soldiers anymore. They are rats, fleeing a fire. Leo Major is waiting for them. From the darkness, across the street. He opens up. They panic. They are on fire, and they are being shot. They don't fight back. They run. They scatter. They vanish into the night, screaming that the Canadians are here, that the city is burning. Leo has just broken the back of the German defense. Alone. He walks back to the command car. The officer is gone. He fled. Leo doesn't care. In fact, it's better. He knows exactly what that terrified officer is going to do. He is going to run back to the main barracks. He is going to tell the German commander exactly what he saw. He's going to say, it's not an army. It's worse. It's a demon. A ghost. He's burning the city. He killed the SS. He's everywhere. This is psychological warfare. This is Leo's White Death. He has just turned a German officer into his own personal radio broadcaster, a broadcaster of terror. And now, Leo goes back to work. He's not done. He has 2 hours left until 6:20 a.m. He starts the ghost trick all over again. He runs block after block. He fires a burst. Brap! He runs. He fires another burst. Brap! Brap! He finds more grenades on the dead SS. He throws them. Boom! The entire city of Zwolle is now his personal sound stage. The Germans are in a full-blown, undeniable panic. The Simo Heiha effect is complete. We know this, not from Leo's reports, but from the Germans. Their radio operators are screaming into their headsets. Attack from all sides! Regiment strength! They have flamethrowers! They are in the SS headquarters. The German commander, the one in the bunker, hears that the SS headquarters, the heart of his defense, is on fire. He hears that his patrols are being annihilated. He hears explosions from the north. He hears gunfire from the south. He hears his own officers are fleeing in terror. His doctrine has failed. His numbers mean nothing. He makes the only logical decision he can. He gives the order. Evacuate. Full retreat! Save yourselves! The invincible 1,000-man garrison, the men who were ordered to fight to the death. They break. They run. They pour out of their barracks. They don't even fight. They just run. They run for the bridges. They run for the roads. They trample each other, trying to get away from the army that is hunting them. They are running from one single man. But Leo isn't done. He's not a doctrine guy, remember? He sees them running, and he hunts them. He's not just scaring them anymore. He's hurting them. He gets ahead of the retreating column. He sets up his Sten gun. He waits. The first group runs around the corner. Brrrr! They panic. He's in front of us. They turn. They run down another street. Leo is already there. He has limped. Run with his broken back to cut them off again. He is a shepherd from hell. He is a one-eyed sheepdog, herding 1,000 terrified, invincible sheep all night. For 4 solid hours, he runs, he shoots, he terrorizes. The city is his, but now Leo has a new problem. The sun is starting to come up, a faint gray line on the horizon. He's running out of time. It's 4:30 a.m. The Germans are gone. The city is silent. Not the scary silence. A real Silence. He did it. He won, but he's just one man. His own army, the Canadian Army, has no idea. The doctrine is still the doctrine. The artillery, the 24-hour bombardment that will kill 50,000 people, is still scheduled for 6 a.m. Leo Major looks at the burning city. He looks at the approaching dawn. He has just won a one-man war against a German garrison. Now, he has to fight a new war against his own armies. Official plan: he has 90 minutes to stop the entire Canadian artillery from destroying the city. He just saved. He checks his ammo. He's almost empty. He looks at his hands. They are bloody. He feels his back. It's not there. Just pain. He has to get back. He has to run all the way back to the Canadian lines. After fighting for his life for 4 hours, the hunt is over. The race has just begun. Leo Major is in a race. He has just defeated an army of 1,000. Now he faces a new enemy. The clock. It's 4:30 a.m. The artillery bombardment, his army's bombardment, begins in 90 minutes. He is deep inside the kill zone. He is exhausted. His one eye is burning from smoke and gunpowder. His broken back is a solid block of agony. His ankles, the ones he snapped in the mine explosion, are screaming. He has just spent 4 hours running, gunning, haunting. Now, he has to run back. He starts to move. It's not a run anymore. It's a limp, a shuffle. He is running on nothing but pure, unfiltered sisu, that Canadian grit. He crosses the railway tracks. He passes the burning, smoldering shell of the SS headquarters. The city is dead. The Germans are gone. But the 50,000 civilians are still there, hiding in their cellars, waiting for the 6 a.m. apocalypse. Leo knows he is the only thing that can stop it. He reaches the canal, the moat he crossed hours ago. It feels like a lifetime ago. He finds the boat. His hands are shaking so badly he can barely hold the oar. He paddles across the dark water. He's out. He's on the friendly side of the canal. But now, a new enemy, his own sentries. He is a single figure emerging from the darkness. He's coming from the enemy city, covered in blood, soot, and carrying 2 Sten guns. He is a target. Halt! A Canadian voice cuts through the pre-dawn cold. Halt or I'll fire. Leo falls to his knees. He can't run anymore. He drops the guns. He screams. Not his name, not a password. He screams the one thing that matters. Zwala! It's clear! The city is ours! The sentries don't fire. They see his uniform. They see the mad look in his one eye. They drag him, limping, crawling, to the command post. It's 5:15 a.m. Leo Major bursts into the dugout. He finds his commanding officer. The CO, the expert, looks at him like he's a ghost. Major? We thought you were dead. Where is Arsenault? Leo's voice is a raw whisper. He holds up the dog tags. He's gone. The CO's face falls. The mission is a failure. Son, I'm sorry. Leo explodes. The brawler comes out. No. You listen to me. The Germans are gone. I scared them. They ran. The officers in the dugout just stare at him. This is the McKenna moment. The doctrine is colliding with the illegal modification. The officers, the experts, they look at their watches. 5:20 a.m. They look at this one, broken, one-eyed private, a man known for being mad, a man who refused a medal, and he's telling them that he, alone, just defeated a 1,000-man garrison. It's impossible. The artillery officer is on the phone. Command, we have a situation. The scout is back. He says the city is clear. The doctrine from high command is clear. The report is unverified. The scout is delirious. The bombardment will proceed. 5:30 a.m. Leo hears this, and he loses his mind. He grabs the CO's uniform. Sir, you called this mission. You asked for eyes on. I am your eyes. I was there. It's empty. Call it off. The CO looks at Leo's one blazing eye. He sees the truth. He sees the Sisu. This is the moment from the P-38 script. The expert who breaks the rules because he trusts his mechanic. The CO grabs the radio. He breaks doctrine. This is Charlie command. Red, red, red. Hold the bombardment. I repeat. Hold! Your fire! We are going in. It's 5:45 a.m., 15 minutes to spare. The doctrine is broken. The official plan is dead. Now, Leo's illegal modification has to be proven. The CO doesn't just believe him. He bets 50,000 lives on his word. The sun rises. 6:20 feet. The world is silent. The artillery does not fire. The Canadian Army, the Régiment de la Chaudière, begins to advance. They move cautiously into the city of Zwolle. They are expecting a trap. They are expecting machine guns. They are expecting death. And who is at the front of the column? Leo Major. He refused medical aid. He refused to sleep. He told his CO, Willie is still in there. I'm going to get him. He limps at the head of the army, back into the city he just conquered. The soldiers move street by street. They find the empty machine gun nests. They find the abandoned mortars. They find the burning, smoldering ruins of the SS headquarters. They find hundreds of abandoned rifles and helmets. They find a city with no Germans. The entire regiment is speechless. They are stunned. This one man, this mad, one-eyed brawler. He told the truth. He did the impossible. And then, it happens. The proof. A cellar door creaks open. An old Dutch civilian peeks out. He sees, not a German, but a Canadian uniform. He cries. He runs out. Frei! Frei! Free! And then, the city comes alive. The 50,000 people, the ones who were supposed to die at 6:09 a.m. They pour out of their cellars. They come running into the streets. They are laughing. They are crying. They are screaming. They are hugging the Canadian soldiers. They are handing them flowers. They are handing them wine. It is not a battle. It is a liberation. And in the middle of this joyful chaos, the Canadian soldiers just stare at one man, Leo Major. The man who did. This Leo doesn't celebrate. He limps through the cheering crowd. He walks to the central square, and he finds his friend. He gently lifts the body of Willie, Arsenault. He carries him home. That is how one broken soldier used a ghost trick to liberate an entire city, alone. For this, Leo Major was awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal, the DCM, the second highest medal for bravery in the Commonwealth. This time, he accepted it, but the story, his Sisu, doesn't end there, because this wasn't a fluke. This wasn't a one-time rage. This was Leo Major. The ripple effect of this wasn't that Lockheed changed a manual. The ripple effect was Leo Major himself, 5 years later. 1950, the Korean War. Leo volunteers. He re-enlists. He still has one eye. He still has a bad back. But China has entered the war. November 1951. Leo Major, now a sergeant, is holding a place called Hill 355. It's the Scheldt all over again. The doctrine says his small company of 20 men should retreat. Why? Because they are being attacked by 2 Chinese divisions. It's not 1,000 men. It's 40,000 men. The experts gave the order, retreat. Leo Major heard the order, and he did. What Leo Major always does. He refused. He looked at his 19 terrified men, and he used the Simo Heiha trick. Again, he screamed, "We are not retreating! We sound like an army!" For 3 days, in the freezing cold, Leo Major and his 20 men ran back and forth across the hill. They fired machine guns. They fired mortars. They threw grenades. They sounded like a regiment. The 40,000 Chinese stopped. They faltered. They believed the trick. Again. After 3 days, Leo Major and his men still held the hill. He survived. He won. For this, Leo was awarded another Distinguished Conduct Medal. He is the only Canadian in history to receive the DCM in 2 different wars. That is the legacy. When the war was over, what happens to a man like this? James McKenna, the mechanic, went back to his garage. He died a secret. Simo Heiha, the White Death, went back to his farm. He died a humble legend. Leo Major wasn't quiet. He wasn't humble. He was Leo. He went home to Montreal. He lived a long life. But in Zwolle, the city he saved, he is not a man. He is a saint. They named a street after him. Leo Majorlan. He returned every year. The entire city would come out to greet him. He died in 2008. At age 87, his story is the ultimate illegal modification. It proves that wars are not won by doctrine. They are not won by experts. They are won by individuals. They are won by a mechanic with piano wire. They are won by a farmer with snow in his mouth. And they are won by a one-eyed madman who had the sisu to declare a one-man war on an army, to save a city. If you found this story as compelling as we did, please take a moment to like this video. It helps us share more forgotten stories from the Second World War. Subscribe to stay connected with these untold histories. Each one matters. Each one deserves to be remembered. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below telling us where you're watching from. Our community spans from Texas to Tasmania. From veterans to history enthusiasts, you're part of something special here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for keeping these stories alive. At 08, on January 24, 1945, near the town of Husson, France, all hell broke loose. The ground shook. 600 German infantry from an elite SS mountain division burst from the frozen fog. They were backed by 6 Mark 6 Tiger tanks, behemoths of steel. Their 88mm cannons were already firing, turning the American front line into a landscape of ice, fire, and red snow. The American unit in their path, the 3rd Battalion, 7th Infantry, was about to be erased. In a shallow ditch, a 25-year-old lieutenant watched the chaos. He was small, barely 5'3". He was suffering from severe dysentery. He was wounded. And he wasn't even supposed to be there. He looked at the Tiger tanks advancing. He looked at his men, outnumbered 10-1, starting to panic. And he looked at the field telephone in his hand. He had a choice. He could follow orders, save himself, and retreat to the command post. Or he could do something else. Something so reckless, so suicidal. It defied every rule of warfare. He grabbed the spool of telephone wire and ran. He didn't run away from the attack. He ran towards it, alone, straight into the blizzard of machine gun fire. What this one, unassuming farmer from Kentucky did over the next 3 hours was not just bravery. It was a calculated one-man slaughter. And it's the story the U.S. Army would try to bury for the next 50 years. This is the story of Garland Merle Connor, and the unbelievable, almost criminal reason. He became World War II's most decorated soldier, and also its most forgotten. To understand what happened in that 3-hour suicide mission, you first have to understand the man. And to understand the man, you have to understand the war he was fighting. It was January 1945. The Battle of the Bulge had been a disaster. Hitler's last great gamble in the West. But it wasn't his only gamble. Further south, in the Vosges Mountains of France, Hitler launched a second, lesser-known offensive. Operation Nordwind. The North Wind. It was a nightmare. The winter was the coldest in 30 years. Temperatures hit -20. American GIs were fighting in frozen forests against SS fanatics who knew the terrain. It was a meat grinder, a battle of attrition, and in the middle of this frozen hell was the U.S. 3rd Infantry Division, the Rock of the Marne, and in that division was a quiet, unassuming farm boy from Kentucky. Garland Merle Connor was not a career soldier. He wasn't a giant. He was from a poor farming family in Clinton County. He spent his life working the land. When he enlisted in 1941, he was 21 years old, 5'3", and weighed 112 pounds, 50 kilograms. He was invisible. He was the kind of man the experts and the officers overlooked. But this invisible farmer had a secret. He had pure, cold Kentucky grit, and he had been proving it for 2 straight years in some of the bloodiest battles of the war. When the 3rd Division landed at Anzio, Italy in 1944, the situation was a disaster. The Americans were trapped on a tiny beachhead, surrounded by German artillery. It was a slaughterhouse. Connor was a technical sergeant then. On January 30th, 1944, his platoon was pinned down. A German machine gun nest had them zeroed in. Men were dying. Connor didn't wait for orders. He didn't ask for permission. He grabbed his rifle and crawled. Alone, for 75 yards, across open ground, with bullets snapping over his head. He got within 15 yards of the nest, raised up, and with perfect, calm, farmer's aim, he killed the entire crew. His platoon advanced. They were immediately pinned down again. By another machine gun, Connor did it again. He crawled another 60 yards under a hail of grenades and took out the second nest. His platoon advanced and was pinned down a 3rd time. This time, Connor didn't crawl. He got to his feet and charged, straight into the enemy position, firing from the hip. He killed the crew, captured their gun, and turned it on the retreating Germans. For this, he received his first Silver Star, the Army's 3rd highest medal for valor. But this was just a warm-up. Connor wasn't a specialist. He wasn't a sniper. He was an all-purpose killing machine. In Italy, a few weeks later, his unit was advancing and walked straight into a German minefield. Men were blown apart. The platoon panicked. They were trapped. They couldn't go forward. They couldn't go back. Connor, under intense machine gun and mortar fire, got on his hands and knees and began crawling into the minefield. He probed the ground with his bayonet, finding the tripwires, finding the pressure plates. He calmly, methodically, cleared a path, 1 inch at a time, while explosions walked in around him. He then stood up, in the minefield, and guided his men, one by one, through the path he had cleared. He saved his entire platoon. For this, he received his second Silver Star. Do you see the pattern? This 5'3" farmer was not human. He was an elemental force. The army command was starting to notice. The experts were baffled. How was this one man, who looked like a boy, doing this? They didn't understand. Connor wasn't fighting for doctrine. He wasn't fighting for regulations. He was fighting for the men beside him. He was fighting to get home to his farm. And he had a simple, brutal logic. The only way home is through them. Then came southern France. August 1944. Operation Dragoon. The 3rd Division was pushing inland. The Germans were retreating, but they were fighting for every inch. Near the town of Voiron, Connor's company was ambushed. A German machine gun, hidden in a house, tore into them. The company commander was killed. The unit was leaderless, shattered, bleeding in the street. Connor, now a first sergeant, became the command. He grabbed a man. "Cover me!" He sprinted 100 yards, across a completely open street, in broad daylight. Bullets tore up the pavement around his feet. He reached the house. He kicked in the door. He cleared the entire house, room by room, by himself. He killed the 5-man machine gun crew and 3 riflemen who were supporting them. He then ran back across the street, under the same fire, reorganized his company, and led them in a successful attack. For this, he received his 3rd Silver Star. Are you counting? That's 3 Silver Stars. Most career soldiers. Most generals. Don't see one. Connor got 3, in less than 9 months. But he was also collecting other medals. A Bronze Star, for crawling 150 yards to rescue a wounded officer, dragging him back while under artillery fire. A 2nd Bronze Star, for single-handedly destroying another machine gun nest. A 3rd Bronze Star. 4. We don't even know. The records are so dense with bravery, it's hard to tell. And Purple Hearts. He was wounded at Anzio. Shrapnel. He was wounded again in France. A bullet. He was wounded a 3rd time. By December 1944, Garland Merle Connor was broken. He had been in combat for 28 months. He had seen more fighting, more death, than any 10 men. He had severe dysentery. His wounds were infected. He had lost 30 pounds from his already small frame. He was done. The army, for once, did the right thing. They pulled him off the line. They gave him a battlefield commission, made him a lieutenant, and they reassigned him as the intelligence officer of the 3rd Battalion. This was the doctrine. His new job was safe. He was supposed to sit in a command post, 2,000 yards behind the front line. He was supposed to read maps, write reports, and survive. His commanders, his friends, his own men. They all told him, "Merle, you've done enough. Go to the rear. Go home." Connor looked at them. He looked at the maps, and he looked at the green replacement troops, kids, being sent to the front line to face the SS, and he said, no. This was his illegal modification. This was his refusal of the scope. He would not sit in a bunker while other men died. He would not follow regulations when he knew, with his farmer's logic, that the experts were wrong. He knew the war wasn't over. He knew the Germans had one more push, and he knew that his men would need him. So, for the next month, Lieutenant Garland Merle Connor, the wounded, sick 5'3" intelligence officer. Broke every rule in the book. He didn't stay at the command post every day. He'd leave his safe bunker and sneak up to the absolute front line. Sometimes he'd sneak past it. He'd crawl out into no man's land, alone, just like he did at Anzio. And he would watch. He'd lie in the frozen snow for hours, just watching, listening. He saw things the experts in the rear couldn't. He saw the pattern of the German patrols. He saw where the SS were massing for an attack. He saw where the Tiger tanks were hiding. He was a ghost. He would crawl back to his lines and tell his commanders exactly where the Germans would attack, and when they didn't believe him. "Lieutenant, you're an S2. Your job is reports. Stay off the line." "Connor, you're sick. You're seeing things. Go to the aid station." He was the E2E mechanic telling the engineers the plane was broken, and they ignored him. This disobedience earned him his 4th Silver Star on one of his illegal scouting missions. He saw a fellow officer, a friend, get hit by a mortar. The man was lying in the open, bleeding out. Connor, again, ran into the open. He picked the man up, threw him over his shoulder, and carried him back, while artillery shells, German 88s, exploded around them. The man survived. Let's be clear. By January 1945, Garland Merle Connor was already a legend. 4 Silver Stars, 3 Bronze Stars, 3 Purple Hearts. He had nothing left to prove. He had done more. He had killed more. And he had saved more than an entire company of men. His war was over. Until January 24th, 1945, at 07 turned a.m., Connor was where he wasn't supposed to be. Again, he was at a forward observation post, a shallow ditch, 300 yards in front of his own front line. He was cold, he was sick, and he was watching the fog. He had his field telephone. The line ran 300 yards back to the artillery command. He had a feeling, the same farmer's instinct that told him when a storm was coming. The air was too quiet. He told the command post, "They're coming. It's today. Get ready." The experts in the rear laughed. "Connor, go get some sleep. Our reports show no activity." Then he heard it. A low rumble, a clank, the sound of steel. It wasn't one tank. It was many. The fog in front of him started to get darker. And at 08 noon, the fog dissolved. It was a nightmare. 6 Tiger tanks, not Panzers, not Stugs, Tigers, the most feared weapon on Earth. And behind them, an entire battalion, 600 SS mountain troops, shock troops, the best of the best. They were not probing, they were not scouting, they were attacking, and they were aimed directly at the weakest point in the American line. The point Connor had warned them about. The Tigers opened fire. The 88mm shells ripped the American line apart. Trees exploded. Men disintegrated. The American machine guns tink, tink, tink off the Tigers' armor. Useless. The 600 SS infantry, screaming, charged forward. Connor, in his ditch, 300 yards in front of his friends, watched his company, his men, begin to break. He saw them start to run. He saw the panic. He knew that in 60 seconds, they would all be dead. The line would be broken. The Germans would be through. The experts were wrong. The regulations were wrong. Everything was wrong. He looked at his field telephone. He had a direct line to hell. He was connected to the entire American Artillery Command, dozens of 105mm and 155mm howitzers, just waiting for a target. He was an S2, an intelligence officer. His doctrine, his orders, were to observe, report, and retreat. He was supposed to save himself. He saw the lead Tiger, 500 yards away from him. He saw the SS infantry, 400 yards away. He saw his friends, 300 yards behind him, dying. Garland Merle Connor, the 5'3" farmer, the man who was already a hero, the man who was sick, wounded, and broken, made his choice. He was not going to retreat. He was not going to run. He was going to hunt. He unspooled his telephone wire. He checked his connection. He picked up the receiver. And he did not stay in the ditch. This is the moment. The story becomes unbelievable. He left the safety of his forward ditch and began to crawl towards the 600 SS, towards the 6 Tiger tanks. He moved 40 yards further into no man's land. He found a small crater, barely 3 feet deep. He unspooled his wire. He laid down in the snow. He was now 250 yards in front of the American lines. He was in the middle of the German attack. The 600 SS were advancing past him, on his left and on his right. He could hear them shouting in German. He could smell the diesel fumes from the Tigers. He was surrounded. He picked up the phone. He got the artillery commander on the line. The commander, in the rear, was in a panic. "Connor, what is your position? We have to pull back." Connor's voice was calm, cold, the voice of a farmer, looking at a storm. He said, "I am 200 yards from the enemy. They are all around me." The commander was confused. "What? What are you doing? Get out of there." And this is what Garland Merle Connor said next, a line that should be in every history book. He said, "Sir, I want you to bring the artillery directly on me." The artillery commander on the other end of the line was silent. What Connor had just requested wasn't bravery. It was suicide. Artillery doctrine had one unbreakable rule. You never fire on your own positions. It was called danger close. Firing within 600 yards of your own men was a risk. Firing within 200 yards was unthinkable. Firing directly on an officer was murder. The commander's voice came back, strained. "Negative, Lieutenant! Negative! What's your position? We're pulling back!" Connor, lying in the snow, with 600 SS troops screaming and Tiger tanks clanking, had no time for confusion. He could see his battalion's line wavering. He could see men starting to run. He screamed into the phone, "No! I am not pulling back. I am at coordinate grid." He read the map coordinates. "The enemy is with me. They are all around me. You will fire on my position, or we will all be dead. In 5 minutes, the line will break." This was the moment. The expert in the rear versus the farmer in the field. The artilleryman hesitated. He knew that firing on that coordinate would not just kill Connor. It would kill dozens of American GIs who were still trying to hold the line 300 yards behind him. But Connor knew his math. He knew the blast radius. He knew that 300 yards was the safety line, just barely. He was ordering fire, in the gap, the 250-yard no man's land he had crawled into. The artillery commander made his choice. He trusted the man in the snow. His voice came back, grim. "Range, confirmed, firing solution, on your coordinate, shells, on the way." And then Garland Merle Connor began. the hunt. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He was a conductor, and he was about to orchestrate a symphony of total destruction. The first shells were ranging shots. They landed 100 yards behind him, dangerously close to his own men. Connor grabbed the phone. "Too far! Bring it 100 yards closer! On me!" The artilleryman adjusted. The next shells were closer. The sound was different. It wasn't a distant boom. It was a whistling scream. The 105mm shells, his own shells, landed 50 yards away. The explosions were deafening. The ground jumped, hot, razor-sharp shrapnel. His own shrapnel hissed over his head. It sliced the frozen air, thudding into the snowbanks around his crater. He was inside his own kill zone. And now he went to work. He looked up. The lead Tiger tank, the one that had started the attack, was 200 yards away. It had stopped. It was a mobile fortress, firing its 80mm cannon. Thump, 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 ripping his battalion's command post to shreds. Connor put the phone to his mouth. He was calm. "Target, Tiger, 200 yards, north of my position. Fire for effect." The commander in the rear relayed the order. Fire for effect. Dozens of guns, all at once, fired. Connor did not flinch. He watched. The sky tore open. A wave of high-explosive shells walked across the snow, directly towards the Tiger tank. The shells blanketed the area. The SS infantry around the tank vanished. They didn't fall. They disintegrated. 1, 2, 3, 5 direct hits on the Tiger. The 80-ton behemoth shuddered. Its 80mm gun went silent. The tank was dead. The experts in the rear were cheering. They had stopped a Tiger. Connor didn't pause. He was already scanning for his next target. He was the simple trick. He was the one man who understood that the experts were wrong. Now, let's pause. Let's look at this from the German perspective. The German attack was being led by an experienced SS Sturmbannführer, Major, a veteran of the Eastern Front. He had seen everything. He looked at the American GIs as soft farmers, shopkeepers, not real soldiers. His plan was perfect. His intelligence was perfect. The Americans were not expecting an attack. His 6 Tiger tanks were invincible. This was not a battle. This was a cleanup. The attack began at 08 Tours. By 08:05, everything was going to plan. The American line was breaking. He could see them running. He smiled. He gave the order for his lead Tiger, Tank 101, to advance and destroy the command post. Victory was minutes away. And then it happened. The sky exploded. But this was not the random panicked artillery he expected. This was different. It was accurate. He watched, in horror, as his lead Tiger, his invincible machine, was blasted into scrap metal. His cleanup had just stopped. The Major was confused. How? How? Did they do that? His men reported. No. American spotters. The Americans were retreating. It must be a lucky guess. A 1 in a million shot. He was furious. He screamed into his radio. "Advance! All units! Do not stop! Vorwärts!" He ordered his 2nd Tiger tank to move up, and he ordered his elite SS infantry to charge. Now, back to Connor. He saw the 2nd Tiger moving up. He saw the wave of 600 SS stand up and begin to charge. They were screaming. They were 400 yards away. Connor was calm. He was a farmer, planning his harvest. He knew he could not stop them all. At once, he had to break their will. How do you do that? You don't kill the men. You kill their leaders. He scanned the charging wave, ignoring the bullets that were snapping past his head. He was looking for the officers, the men with the maps. He was looking for the radio men, the men with the antennas. He was looking for the machine guns, the MG-42s. That gave them courage. He saw them, a cluster of SS running together, an MG-42 team setting up. Connor put the phone to his mouth. Target, MG-42, 300 yards, center, fire. The sky screamed. The MG-42 and its 5-man crew vanished. He saw another group, an officer, waving his arm, pointing. Target, officer, 250 yards, left flank, fire. The sky screamed. The officer disappeared. This was the psychological terror. Let's go back to the German side. The SS infantry were not farmers. They were fanatics. They were not afraid of dying, but they were now terrified. This was not war. This was magic. This was a ghost. Every time an officer gave an order, he exploded. Every time a machine gun tried to fire, it exploded. The artillery was not random. It was thinking. It was watching them. It knew who they were. A young SS soldier, Hans, 18 years old, watched his sergeant point, and then his sergeant was gone. He watched his friend, Karl, set up their MG-42, and then Karl was gone. Hans stopped charging. He dropped into the snow. He was not fighting the Americans. He was fighting an invisible god all across the 400-yard front. The invincible SS charge faltered. The men stopped running. They dove for cover. They were paralyzed. The entire German attack was stuck. The experts were wrong. The doctrine was wrong. One 5'3" farmer had broken an entire SS battalion in less than 10 minutes. But the battle was not over. It was just beginning. This was not a 10-minute fight. This was a 3-hour war. The German commander was panicked, but he was not stupid. He realized what was happening. It is not a ghost, he screamed into his radio. It is a Beobachter, an observer. He is close. He is in the field. The only way the artillery could be this accurate is if the observer was with them. The major gave the same order as any desperate commander. Grid square removal. He ordered his own mortars, his own artillery to erase the entire field. Feuer auf Sektor C4, he screamed. Fire on sector C4. The exact grid Connor was in now. Garland Merle Connor was not just in his own kill zone. He was in theirs. For the next 2 hours, Connor lay in that crater. He was in hell. His own 105mm shells were exploding 50 yards in front of him. German 81mm mortars were exploding 100 yards behind him. Shrapnel from both armies filled the air. The noise was not sound. It was a physical force. The ground never stopped shaking, and Garland Merle Connor never stopped hunting. he saw the second Tiger tank trying to sneak to the flank of his battalion. He screamed into the phone. Over. The explosions. Tiger! Moving! East! 400 yards! Stop it! The sky screamed. The shells walked up to the tank. A direct hit broke its tread. The tank was crippled. It spun in a circle. It became a steel coffin. 2 Tigers down. The German commander was losing his mind. His tanks were dying. His men were hiding. He had to find the observer. He ordered his 3rd and 4th Tiger not to attack the Americans, but to hunt the observer. He told them to fire their 80 mate me cannons at every ditch, every crater, every possible hiding place in the field. And then it happened. A German mortar, fired by a terrified crew, flew over the field. It landed 10 yards, 10 from Connor's crater. The concussion was unimaginable. It lifted his 112-pound body out of the ditch. It slammed him back onto the frozen ground. His teeth rattled. His wounds from France tore open. A new piece of shrapnel buried itself in his hip. He was bleeding heavily. He ignored it. He crawled back into the crater. He felt the hot blood soaking his pants. He picked up the phone. His voice was still calm. Target, mortar position, 600 yards, northwest. Silence them. The sky screamed. The mortars went silent. This was grit. This was the farmer's logic. The only way to stop the pain was to win. He kept fighting for another hour. He broke every new German attack. He crippled a 3rd Tiger. He was winning. He was winning. And then disaster. The fatal flaw. The broken machine. A German 88mm shell fired from one of the hunting tigers screamed over his head. It was not aimed at him. It was aimed at the American line 300 yards behind him. But that is exactly where his wire was. The shell exploded. It cut the line. The phone in Connor's hand went dead. Silence. The artillery commander in the rear panicked. Connor! Connor! Report! Merle! Report! Nothing. The ghost was gone. The commander stopped firing. The German major on the German side heard the silence. The American artillery stopped. He smiled. The ghost was dead. The observer was dead. His mortars, his tanks had found him. He screamed into his radio. The last order. Vorwärts! Alles Männer! Vorwärts! Forward, all men! Forward! The ghost is dead! Attack! The remains of the SS battalion, the last 3 Tiger tanks, rose from the snow. They began to charge. This time, nothing could stop them. Connor, in his crater, was now truly alone. He was trapped. He was 250 yards inside the German lines, and he was bleeding out. He was a dead man. He looked at the dead phone in his hand. He looked at the broken wire leading back 300 yards across a field that was now swarming with charging SS. He looked at the advancing Tiger tanks. He had another choice. He could stay in the crater and die. He could surrender and die. Or he could do what Garland Merle Connor always does. He could fix the broken machine. He left his crater. He got on his stomach, and he began to crawl back towards his own lines, dragging the broken wire in his hand. This was not a crawl. This was an agony. He was not crawling to safety. He was crawling across the battlefield. The charging SS were behind him. They were shooting at the American lines. Bullets cracked over his head. He crawled over the bodies of the men he had killed. He could hear the Tigers getting closer, and then the Americans saw him. A machine gunner in the American line, 300 yards away, saw a figure moving in the snow. He couldn't tell who it was. It was in front of the German attack. It had to be a German scout. The American machine gun opened fire on him. Tracers ripped the snow around his head. He was being shot at by both sides. He kept crawling. He was losing so much blood. His hip was shattered, but he saw it, the other end of the wire, lying in a crater 100 yards from the American line. He dove into the crater. His hands were frozen, numb. He could not feel his fingers. He pulled out his knife. He stripped the two ends of the wire. He had to twist them together. But his hands would not work. He dropped his knife. He dropped the wires. The SS were 150 yards away. The Tigers were firing. His own men were shooting at his crater. He grabbed the wires again. He put them in his mouth, and he stripped the insulation with his teeth. He held the two live copper wires together in his bloody, frozen hand. The line crackled. The artillery commander in the rear, who was screaming into a dead phone, heard it, a crackle, and then a voice, a whisper, full of pain and ice. Fire. Connor, still lying in the open, 100 yards from his own line, holding the wires together, restarted. The hunt, the charging SS were now 75 yards from the American line. They were in the final charge. This was the end. Connor screamed into the phone, his last command. All guns, 75 yards in front of me. Fire, fire, fire! This was not precision. This was not hunting. This was annihilation. The entire American artillery battalion, 18 guns, unleashed everything. They stopped aiming. They just fired as fast as they could load. The sky disintegrated. The 75-yard strip of land between Connor and his men ceased to exist. It became a wall of fire and steel and death. The SS charge hit that wall, and it vanished. Hundreds of men gone in seconds. The last Tiger tanks, now with no infantry, their crews broken and terrified, stopped. They fired one last blind shot, and they turned. They retreated. The battle was over. Silence fell on the field. The 3-hour war was done. Connor let go of the wires. The phone went dead, this time for good. He pushed himself up. He stood, covered in blood and dirt, his uniform in shreds, his hip shattered. He began to walk the last 100 yards back to his own line. The American GIs, the machine gunners who had been shooting at him, stopped firing. They watched this ghost walk out of the smoke. They could not believe what they were seeing. He walked past the front line. He walked past his battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Smith, who had run up from the command post. Smith looked at this ghost, his face white. "Merle, my God, I thought you were dead." Connor limped past him. He handed the commander the broken field telephone. His voice a rasp. "I had to fix the wire." And then Garland Merle Connor, the farmer from Kentucky, collapsed into the snow. Lieutenant Colonel Smith, Garland Merle Connor's commanding officer, stared at the man who had just collapsed. He was the ghost from the smoke. He was the man who had just saved them all. Smith knelt beside Connor. The medics were already there, frantically cutting away the shreds of his uniform. The sight was horrifying. The man was soaked in blood, not just his own. His hip was a mass of torn flesh and white bone. His hands were frozen into claws. His face was black from the cordite, the smoke, and the frostbite. His lips were split open and bleeding from where he had chewed the telephone wire. He was not a man. He was a sacrifice. The American GIs, the men who had been shooting at him, just watched. They were silent. They had just witnessed a miracle. They had been running. They had been panicked. And this one man, this 5'3" farmer, had refused to die. The medics lifted him. He was so light, 112 pounds. As they carried him away, the entire battalion watched. They did not cheer. They were in awe. It was the silence of respect. The ghost had saved them. The battle was over. Now came the accounting, when the American patrols finally advanced into the field, the kill zone. They stopped. They could not believe what they were seeing. It was not a battlefield. It was a graveyard. The snow was not white. It was black from the explosions and red from the blood. There were no wounded. The artillery Connor had called was so accurate, so brutal. It had left nothing whole. They counted the bodies. Over 50 SS dead. Hundreds more wounded, dragged away by their retreating comrades. They found the burning hulks of 3 Tiger tanks and 3 more crippled or abandoned. The entire German attack of 600 men and 6 Tiger tanks had been stopped, broken, and annihilated by one man. A man with a broken phone and unbreakable grit. This should have been the end of the story. This should have been the moment Garland Merle Connor became the most famous soldier in the world. His commander, Lieutenant Colonel Smith, knew what he had seen. This was not a Silver Star. This was not a Distinguished Service Cross. This was not bravery. This was beyond human. Smith ran to his command post. He took a pen and he wrote the recommendation for the Medal of Honor, the highest award the nation can give. He didn't just recommend. He begged. He wrote, "This is the single greatest act of heroism I have ever witnessed." He described everything. The SS, the Tiger tanks, the 3-hour hunt, the call for fire on me, the broken wire, the crawl under fire, the teeth, the final stand. He sent the report up the chain, and this is where the story truly breaks your heart. This is the injustice the experts in the rear, the generals, the colonels, the paper pushers in the headquarters received the report. They read it, and they did not believe it. Think about it. You are a general. You are safe 20 miles behind the war. You are reading hundreds of reports every day. Heroism, bravery, distinguished action, and you get this report. A 5'3" lieutenant who already has 4 Silver Stars ran into 6 Tiger tanks called artillery on himself for 3 hours, crawled under fire from both sides, fixed a wire with his teeth, and walked home. It sounds impossible. It sounds insane. It sounds like an exaggeration. It sounds like a mistake. The experts looked at the doctrine. They looked at the regulations. No soldier is trained to do this. No soldier could do this. No soldier would do this. It was the same logic that told officers that doctrine is everything. The experts knew better. This must be an error. The commander, Smith, must have been emotional. It's impossible So they lost the paperwork. It vanished. It disappeared into the bureaucracy of the U.S. Army. The war was ending. Millions of men were going home. Who cares about one more report? About one more farmer from Kentucky? Garland Merle Connor was sent to a hospital. His war was over. He was given his fourth Purple Heart. He was given the Distinguished Service Cross, the second highest medal. Thank you for his service, but not the Medal of Honor, not the recognition for Jan 24th. One day, he saved them all. The Army had buried it. And what happens to a man who was the deadliest soldier in the world? When the war is over, what happens to the ghost? When the snow melts, Connor didn't complain. He didn't ask for fame. He didn't write a book. He never spoke about that day. He was a quiet man, a humble man. He went home, back to Kentucky. He married his sweetheart, Pauline. He was given a small farm by the government, a reward for his service, and for the next 50 years, Garland Merle Connor, the most decorated soldier of World War II, the man who hunted tiger tanks alone, did exactly what he did before the war. He farmed. He raised his family. He worked his land. He battled his wounds every single day. The shrapnel in his hip, the memories in his head. His neighbors knew he was a hero. They saw the DSC. They saw the 4 silver stars, but they did not know the full story because he never told them. He was a quiet hero. When reporters found him and asked him, "How did you do it?" he gave the same farmer's logic. He shrugged. "I just did what I had to do. The story should end there. A quiet hero, forgotten by the experts, remembered by his family. But it doesn't, because there was one other man, a man who knew the truth. His name was Richard L.M. Lynch. He was another Kentuckian. He had served in the 3rd Division. He knew the legend of Garland Merle Connor. And he knew that a DSC was not enough. He knew about January 24th in 1995, 50 years after the battle. Richard Lynch started a new war, a war against the Pentagon, a war against bureaucracy. He refused to let the experts win. He knew the broken phone mattered. He spent years digging through archives. He found it, the original lost report, written by Colonel Smith, buried in a file, ignored for 50 years. He found the artillery commander's log the proof of the coordinates. He found the German after-action reports that proved the SS battalion had collapsed. For no explainable reason, he found the witnesses, the men who were there, the men who saw the ghost walk out of the smoke, and he presented all of it to the U.S. Army. The Army read it. The new experts looked at the evidence, and this time, 50 years late, they believed it. The injustice was too big to ignore. The bureaucracy admitted it was wrong. Garland Merle Connor was 79 years old. He was dying, his body broken from a lifetime of wounds and farming. He was in a hospital bed in Kentucky, and the phone rang. It was not a field telephone. It was the President of the United States telling a quiet farmer that after 53 years, his nation was finally ready to say thank you. He was too sick to travel. He died just 2 months later, in March 1998. But before he died, he knew the experts hadn't won. He knew his story would be told. The medal was presented to his widow, Pauline, in a ceremony at the White House. Garland Merle Connor, 4 silver stars, 3 bronze stars, U's 4 Purple Hearts, 1 Distinguished Service Cross, and now 1 Medal of Honor. He is officially the most decorated soldier of the Second World War. More than Audie Murphy, more than General Patton, more than anyone. That is how wars are truly fought, and that is how history is truly made. It isn't always the experts with their doctrine. It isn't always the generals with their grand plans. Sometimes it's a 5'3" farm boy from Kentucky, bleeding in a crater, fixing a broken wire with his teeth. That is grit, and that is a story that deserves to never be forgotten. If you found this story as compelling as we did, please take a moment to like this video. It helps us share more forgotten stories from the Second World War. Subscribe to stay connected with these untold histories. Each one matters. Each one deserves to be remembered. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below telling us where you're watching from. Our community spans from Texas to Tasmania. From veterans to history enthusiasts, you're part of something special here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for keeping these stories alive.